Hi, I'm Adam Kunzmiller with BGG TV at Gen Con 2014, and I'm joined by Gil Hova with Minion Games, and we're here to talk about Battle Merchants.
Yes, we are.
So what can you tell me about Battle Merchants?
Okay, well, this is an economic strategy game. The idea behind the game is that we've got these races that are at war. I've got a setup for a 3-player game. On the other side of the board is the 4-player game.
Oh, let's just, no.
You don't want that.
All right.
Well, maybe you do, but not with me around. So the 4-player game has 4 races at war. The 3-player game is 3 races at war. So we've got elves, hobgoblins, and orcs. And the idea here is we don't care as players who wins the war. We're just selling them weapons. The richest player at the end of the game wins.
Excellent, okay.
So the game is played in 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So we're gonna play for a little bit and then take a break, and there's some battles that happen, and then we play for a bit in summer, so on and so forth. That's the rhythm of the game. So and everybody gets 1 action per turn, so turns tend to be very quick.
Excellent.
Okay? So here's the basic idea behind the game. I'm going to bring my board over here so we can zoom in.
Sure, we can just put it right here.
Yep. And so let's pay attention on this player board. If we focus on this section over here, you can see that my starting character, Shogun Supplies, starts the game with the ability to forge a sword and a hammer. And there's 4 kinds of weapons in the game. We have axes, hammers, maces, and swords. So I cannot make maces and I cannot make axes, at least that in the start of the game. So I can take 4 different actions on my turn, 1 of 4 different actions, and there's a 5th action I can unlock later in the game. So one of my actions is to upgrade craft. So let's zoom out for a little bit and take a look at these cards right over here. Okay.
So we can...
Yeah. And I'm actually gonna set things up. No, you can keep doing that.
Okay.
You can keep doing that. But you know, we're gonna move stuff between here and the player board, so we'll figure out some arrangement with that. Okay. Actually, we can probably do it like this. Let's do it like this.
All right.
Okay. And I'll just move these orcs over here. Okay. So we've got these 5 available craft. They're not normally on the board. We're just doing this for the BGG camera's sake. So we've got these 5 craft that are on the board. That are available, I should say. And during the upgrade, if you take the upgrade craft action, you can take one of these cards. So you can do something where you take a card like this for a craft you don't already have, and now Shogun Supplies can now make axes.
Okay.
Or what you can do is you can take a craft that you already have and you can beef it up. So you count the icons over here in the upper left-hand corner. You started with 1 icon, now you've got 3 icons, so that means you can now make a level 3 hammer. And that's important for a couple of reasons. The first reason is the higher the level of the hammer, the more likely it's going to survive in the battlefield. The second reason is there's 2 levels of weapons, and I'm going to show you some sample hammers. This over here is a standard hammer, but once you get up to 5 levels, you can forge a Vorpal hammer, and that's true with all of the different weapons. If you get to 5 levels of sword, you can forge a Vorpal sword, Snicker Snack. Mm-hmm. So those are the 2 reasons why you may want to upgrade your craft. The thing is, though, it's not always going to be cheap. So some of this craft, so this craft over here says that it's free, so you don't pay anything, you just pick up the craft, you add it to your collection, and you're done. This craft over here says that it's 1x over here, so that means you spend 1 coin for every level of mace you already have.
Okay.
And this craft over here is an X2. That means you spend 2 coins, in this case for every level of hammer you already have. So in this example over here, I would spend 2 coins because I had one previously times 2, so it would be 2 coins.
Makes sense.
If I had this over here and I were to get this, it would be 2 times 2. This card would cost 4 coins. So pretty simple. Mm-hmm. Now, if you had a board that looked like this over here and you took this card, it would be free because 2 times 0 is 0. You had no craft and hammer before, so you get to take the card for free. So there's some times when the opportunity strikes and you're like, oh, I really want to do that, but I want to do that and I want to do that. So let me show you the other that's. So sorry, do you have a question?
No.
Oh, cool. Okay. So another thing you can do is you can forge a weapon on your turn. So you can forge up to 3 weapons on your turn. Everybody starts the game with 10 coins, and here's the money. We have silver 5s, and we have these red 1s. So that's 10 coins over there that you start the game with. And standard weapons cost 5 coins as a base, okay? So if you want to forge, say, 2 standard weapons, you'd give your 10 coins, which at the start of the game is all your money, and then you would forge your 2 weapons. Now, remember these cards before that cost X1 that seem to be just as good as the other? Well, they're better because they've got a coin over here. So the reason you're spending money for them is because these cards will give you a discount on these weapons when you forge them for the rest of the game. So now every time I forge a mace, I'm spending 1 coin less. I'm spending 4 instead of 5. That's pretty sweet. So let's say, just for argument's sake, I forge a sword and I forge a hammer. And I could forge 2 swords, I could forge 2 hammers. I'm just choosing to forge a sword and a hammer, okay? So now I've got a sword and a hammer. I'm gonna actually move this back to where it should be, over here. Okay, and now let's take a look at the board. So now I'm gonna talk about selling weapons, okay? So when you sell a weapon, you sell it out to the board, and this is what the board looks like. And the idea is you cannot sell to any locked space. So at the beginning of the game, there's really only 6 spaces in the 3-player game that you can sell to.
So this represents the demand due
Exactly,
to the
exactly. This is what the races are demanding right now. And obviously, the weapon type must match the demand type that they're asking for. So let's say, for argument's sake, that I sell the sword, the sword out here to the elves. Okay. So let me explain this bit. These 2 lines over here correspond to the elves. These 2 lines correspond to orcs, and these 2 to the hobgoblins. So in this case, I'm selling the sword to the elves. So now that I sold the sword to the elves, I get money. So let's take a look at the reference sheet again. 6 coins over, there's a space sell over here, so I get 6 coins every time I sell to the elves. But I've got this reward tile printed on my my player mat, and that means every time I sell to the elves, I get 1 additional coin. So I'm actually going to get 7 coins. Okay. So I make my 7 coins. I'll get my 5, 6, 7. And now I'm going to look in this part of the board underneath the elves for additional reward tiles. I'm going to look in my player color. I'm red, so hey, there's an elf reward tile right here. I'm going to take it and I'm going to add it to my collection. So now I've got 2 elf reward tiles, and for the rest of the game, the elves are going to give me 2 additional coins, and I can keep adding these reward tiles. They're going to stack. However, I can't stack them too quickly, because you'll notice now that this area is now empty, and it's going to stay empty for a little while. It's going to stay empty until the end of spring. Okay, so let's say that, let's say the hypothetical case that you're a jerk, Adam.
Okay.
Very hypothetical, and you decide to sell an axe over against me. Well, it's not that jerky a move. We're both battle merchants.
Sure.
This is what we do. So you notice that over here, we've got this demand tile that's right over here. It's surrounded, so it's going to go to the middle of the board. So that indicates that time is passing.
So this is what's going to drive the game forward.
Exactly, exactly. And this is going to flip, so now that unlocks these 2 spaces. So now the elves want an axe and the hobgoblins want a hammer. And as you can tell, once 3 chips move to the middle, that's going to trigger the end of the season. Okay. So then, let's say you were to trigger the end of the season, then the rest of us would each take 1 turn. The season would end on my turn. So now comes the question, what happens between seasons? Well, what happens between seasons is all these weapons that are lined up against each other will fight each other. So the way battles happen is actually really easy. If you have a Vorpal against a non-Vorpal, so let's say I had this Vorpal sword.
Pretty straightforward. I imagine the Vorpal wins.
Exactly. The Vorpal will always beat a standard, okay? Now, let's say that this isn't a Vorpal. Let's say they're both standard weapons. In this case, you look at the amount of craft you have at that moment during the battle, okay?
So this is saying that the people who are better at making weapons, their weapons are gonna beat the ones of the other.
Exactly. So let's say that you had 3 axe craft. So you've got 3 axe craft, and I only have 1 sword craft. Okay. So you have more than me, so you would win. So what we do is we remove my sword from the board, and you see, you flip this over actually, and you see you got a broken sword and the number 1. You're going to get, this is going to count as 1 for defeated weapons. So there's a little defeated weapons section on everybody's player board. over here. So you'd put it to the side of your defeated weapons, right over there. So now, at the end of the game, whoever has the highest total of defeated weapons will get 15 coins. Whoever is second highest gets 7 coins. It's a nice bump, but the player who gets that bonus isn't guaranteed the win, because there's all sorts of ways to win in this game. You don't have to have the best weapons to win. It helps, but it's not the only way to win the game, and that's actually something that I put a lot of work into.
So just once again, the defeated weapon goes, it's almost like it's captured by
It's
the
a trophy.
person that
Yeah, it's
defeated
like
it.
a
It's
trophy.
yeah.
Exactly.
So they
the
can
victor-
claim, like, our weapons are the best. Look at all of these weapons that have fallen to our mighty axes,
Exactly.
or what
and
have
if you manage to defeat a Vorpal weapon, that's actually worth 2
okay.
instead of 1. So defeating Vorpal weapons is actually really nice.
Okay.
So that's a lot of the game so far, but so that's 3 of the different actions. One more thing I should mention. You'll notice that this axe is still on the board. So at the end of all the fighting, any weapons that are still on the board will get 2 coins. So if you have like 3 weapons on the board, you get 6 coins. It's sort of like a maintenance contract.
Sure.
You know, you come in, you sharpen their swords, you make sure their maces are well balanced.
I'm sure they're very happy that they don't have to
Yes.
replace them all.
Exactly.
So they give
exactly.
you their patronage.
Yep. That's exactly how it works. And then you move on to the next season. So let's go to the next action, which are the kingdom cards, and that's exactly what you're pulling out here. So these are kingdom cards, so you can also spend an action in addition to upgrading a craft, forging weapons, or selling a weapon. You can also grab a kingdom card, and here are 3 sample kingdom cards. So this kingdom card over here is a permanent card. It's going to stay with you for the whole game, and it's going to have a power. And the power is you get to take this mountain reward tile, which looks like all the other reward tiles, except it's linked to a terrain. It's linked to the mountains here. It's not linked to a race.
So it's the same kind of thing. It's a bonus that applies when you sell in the terrain that matches.
Exactly.
Makes
Every time you
sense.
sell to the mountains, you get a coin. Now, with this kingdom card, you're actually going to keep it with all your kingdom cards, because you have a limit of the number of kingdom cards you can hold. In the spring, it's 2. In the summer, it's 3. And in the winter, it rises to 4. Which seems kind of restrictive, but you also have these immediate cards, and you can take an immediate card whether or not you're at the limit, because it never goes in front of you. You just do what it says and then discard the card. In this case, you just get 5 coins, because you're blackmailing the dwarves. That's what that's all about. And then this card over here is an endgame card, so you need room for this card because you're going to hold it all the way to the end, and then it's going to give you something at the end of the game.
Some kind of scoring condition.
Yes. This one benefits players who have spread out all over the board. It actually is only in a 4-player game, but it's a good example just for teaching the game.
So players are going to go back and forth taking these actions.
Exactly.
It's not necessarily a set number of turns. It's going to be based on when these tokens come out.
Yep.
And then after 4 seasons, what happens at the end of the game?
4 seasons. Let me mention one more thing, and then we'll jump to the 4th season. If you ever get to 6 levels of a craft and you're the first one to 6 levels, you're actually going to get a bonus. And the bonus is this. You get to take, you unlock the bonus 5th action. And the bonus 5th action is that once in the season, you may forge and sell a single weapon of that type as one action. That's really sweet because as the game goes along, you start getting a good deal of money, but you start running out of time. Actions become very, very limited. So being able to forge and sell a weapon, being able to, because normally you can forge up to 3 weapons, but you can only sell 1 weapon per turn. So it's really, it's not that quick, it's a process to go through all that. So this lets you really jump the tempo of the game and, push things forward. Once you do that, you flip that over, and you can't do that again until the next season. So it's once per season, but it's still a really useful power. So sorry, now we're going to talk about endgame scoring. So now once you do battles and repairs for winter, then you do endgame scoring. If you have any unsold weapons, you sell them back to the bank. There's a kind of a lousy return rate for end
So
sell.
that's what end sell's referring to.
Yes.
Okay.
There's also this defeated weapons bonus that I mentioned before. That's when this kicks in. 15 coins for the player who has the most defeated weapons, 7 coins for the player who has the second most. Then any kingdom cards that are endgame kingdom cards, kind of like this one, they kick in now, and then players just count their money, and the player with the most money wins.
Okay, great. And how many players does this support?
This is 2 to 4 players. The 2-player game, there's a couple of extra rules, and I know that some players aren't crazy about that. Other players are just fine with it. This game, it's kind of neat because it adds some cool zero-sum things to the game. So there's some things I can do that I know that will affect you. So there's some really cool extra decisions you can make.
And what kind of average playtime can you expect once you're familiar with how the game works?
90 minutes.
90 minutes.
So it's a
All
juicy economic game. There's some really cool decisions to make, but turns are very fast because you're only doing one action per turn, and it only takes 90 minutes. So it doesn't feel like a lot of games out there. It feels, this is a real fast-moving but very juicy and interesting economic game.
Okay, and is this available now?
Yes, it's available now.
Grab the box top
Yes.
there.
Oh, we've had the box top over here all this time?
This whole time.
This whole time, yeah.
So once again, this has been an overview of Battle Merchants from Minion Games.